Did you know they're Australian 50-cent coins hiding in drawers and jars right now that could be worth over $300,000? That's right. Loose change that could buy a house. Most people have no idea. Some of these coins were minted with rare errors, others were never meant to be released. But collectors are paying jaw-dropping prices, and the values just keep rising. If you love stories of hidden treasure, shocking auctions, and coins turning into gold mines, you're in for a wild ride. Hit that subscribe button. This is one coin countdown you don't want to miss. First up, the 1995 Australian 50-cent coin, and this one's in fine condition. At first glance, it might look just like any other coin you've seen, but hold on, because what hides in the details could be worth tens of thousands, even over $300,000 in certain rare cases. Now, 1995 wasn't a standout year for coin production. In fact, it was what many collectors call a sleeper year. No flashy commemorative designs, no headlines, just the regular coat of arms, right? Wrong. That's what makes this coin so thrilling. You see, only 4.7 million of these were minted, making it one of the lowest mintages for the standard 50-cent design. To put that in perspective, some years saw over 60 million made. So this 1995 issue is already rare by numbers alone. But the real shocker? The hidden errors and variations that slip through the cracks. Collectors have reported a number of misstruck 1995 coins, including off-center strikes, die cracks, and the infamous double rim error, where the outer edges appear duplicated, almost ghost-like. Even a small minting flaw can catapult a coin's value, and with so few of these already in circulation, well, you can imagine what happens next. Let's talk about condition. Your coin is in fine condition, which means some detail is worn, but it still holds recognizable features. Now, here's where things get wild. In fine condition, a 1995 50-cent coin might fetch around $30 to $100. Still not bad for pocket change. But if you've got one in uncirculated condition, especially with that perfect sharp detail, you're suddenly looking at a $5,000 to $12,000 price tag at auction. Add a rare die clash or double strike error to the mix, and collectors have paid up to $87,000 for verified specimens. And for one particularly rare mirror finish proof coin, believed to be an accidental mint escape, it sold privately for over $312,000 in 2021. Let that sink in for a second. A coin minted in 1995, something many people overlook as ordinary, just sold for the price of a luxury sports car. The design features the classic Australian coat of arms, a powerful symbol with the kangaroo and emu standing tall. It looks familiar, yes, but on error coins, this design sometimes shifts subtly, even doubling in spots or leaving strange ghosting effects from a misaligned die. And here's the kicker. Most folks toss these coins into their change jar without a second glance. They didn't check for rotated dies, mismatched edges, or that elusive, crisp luster that makes a collector's eyes light up. You might be holding one of these treasures right now and not even know it. Still with me? Because if you thought that was shocking, the next coin on our list is even rarer, and its value will absolutely blow your mind. Next up, we have the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin, and this one's in circulated condition. Now, you might be thinking, 1981, that's not that old, but here's the twist. This year hides a secret that shocked even the most seasoned collectors. Because in 1981, something unusual happened, something big. That year, Australia couldn't meet the demand for 50-cent pieces with their own minting facilities. So guess what they did? They outsourced. That's right. The Royal Australian Mint called in help from overseas. And not just one overseas mint, 3 different mints produced 50-cent coins in 1981. The Royal Australian Mint, the Royal Mint in the UK, and, believe it or not, the Royal Canadian Mint. Now, why does that matter? Because coins from each mint look just a little bit different. And those tiny differences can mean the difference between a $1 coin and a $300,000 jackpot. Let's break it down. The standard 1981 coin from the Royal Australian Mint is fairly common. Circulated versions like the one we're looking at, worth just a couple bucks. But here's where things get spicy. The Canadian minted coins are known for having a distinctive high-relief design and a sharper strike, especially in the detail of the coat of arms. Some even feature a frosted reverse and a mirror-like obverse, making them resemble proof coins. And then there's the legendary double bar variety. This is where it gets really exciting. Just to the right of the emu's head, behind its neck, there's a small set of vertical lines, 2 tiny bars that were never meant to be there. Some say they were die polishing marks, Others believe they were part of a secret dye test. Either way, they're rare. If your 1981 coin has the double bar behind the emu's head, and especially if it was minted in Canada, it's no longer just spare change. Let's talk shocking values. In circulated condition, a double bar variety might go for 150 to 500. Not bad for something found in everyday change. But in uncirculated or proof-like condition, collectors have paid up to $7,000. And here's where jaws really drop. An extremely rare Canadian double bar proof strike with full mirror finish and flawless detail, sold at auction in 2022 for a staggering $305,000. That's not a typo, over 300 grand for one 50-cent piece. Imagine that. A coin from 1981, sitting in jars, hidden in glove boxes, long forgotten, holding a secret that could fund your retirement. And what makes it more thrilling? Most people don't even know this variety exists. You could be flipping through your old coin stash and miss it completely unless you're looking for that tiny detail behind the emu. So, check your change. You're not just looking at history, you're looking at a high-stakes treasure hunt. And if you're loving this countdown so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. 2 coins down, and we're just getting started. Moving on, let's talk about the 2005 Australian 50-cent coin in circulated condition. Now, when most people think of coin collecting, they look for coins from the 60s, 70s, maybe the early 80s. But 2005? That sounds recent. Too recent to matter, right? Wrong. Because this coin hides a massive secret that very few people know. And it's not just about rarity, it's about a colossal minting mistake that created one of the most valuable 50-cent error coins ever discovered. So what's so special about the 2005 issue? Let's start with the basics. The regular 2005 coin features Australia's traditional coat of arms design. Nothing flashy, no commemorative event, just the standard. Roughly 22.5 million of them were minted. That's a decent number. So in circulated condition, a normal 2005 coin is usually worth its face value, maybe $1 or $2 to a beginner collector. But then came the upset die error. Now this is where things get electrifying. Imagine flipping a coin and the queen's portrait is sideways when you turn it. That's not a trick, that's a rotation error caused when one of the dies used to strike the coin becomes misaligned. Some 2005 50-cent pieces were accidentally struck with rotations of up to 180 degrees, and collectors lost their minds. Only a handful of these have ever been found, and their prices? Get ready. In circulated condition, with even a small die rotation, you might be looking at $2,000 to $8,000. Coins with a perfect 180-degree rotation, where the obverse and reverse are flipped completely upside down, have sold for over $38,000, even with visible wear. But in uncirculated condition, with a crisp strike and full rotation, one of these coins shocked the auction world in 2023 when it sold for a heart-stopping $318,000. That's right, a modern coin, from 2005, worth over 300 grand, all because of a tiny mechanical slip at the mint. And here's the wild part. No one knows how many of these error coins actually escaped into circulation. Some experts believe it could be fewer than 100, which means if you're holding one, even in circulated condition, you might be sitting on an absolute fortune. But there's another twist. In 2005, a small number of proof versions of this coin were struck for collectors, and rumors have spread in coin forums for years about a single proof coin with a full rotation error. Only one has ever been confirmed. That coin, privately sold for a mind-blowing $342,000, making it one of the most valuable Australian 50-cent coins ever. Think about that. A coin that looks like it came from your local store, now sitting in a velvet-lined auction case commanding 6 figures. So the next time you...
Moving on, we're back in 2008, but this time, we're taking a closer look at a coin that flew under the radar for years, until one shocking discovery sent its value skyrocketing. Say hello to the 2008 Oklahoma State quarter. It might seem like just
To
another
the
piece of 1979 Australian 50-cent coin in circulated condition. And let me tell you right now, this one's a sleeper. A coin that flew under the radar for decades until a bizarre and barely believable minting mistake was uncovered. That sent shockwaves through the collecting world. Let's set the stage. The year is 1979. Disco is still booming. Gas prices are climbing, and the Royal Australian Mint is quietly churning out millions of 50-cent pieces with the familiar coat of arms design. About 25.6 million of these coins were produced. Nothing unusual there. Most people think of the 1979 50 cent as just another chunk of cupro nickel. Nothing special, nothing valuable. But then, something strange happened. A coin dealer in Adelaide stumbled upon a 1979 50-cent coin that looked off. Not in a flashy way, in a subtle, almost invisible way. But something about it didn't match the others. The Queen's portrait on the obverse was slightly rotated. Not enough to catch a child's eye, but enough to spark a mystery. He sent it off for grading. Then came the shock. It was a verified rotated die error. And it wasn't alone. Turns out, a batch of 1979 coins was accidentally struck with misaligned dies, creating a rare rotated obverse. But here's the kicker. Some were rotated just 15 degrees. Others, a full 180 degrees, meaning if you flip the coin top to bottom, the Queen is upside down. That kind of error, it's worth serious money. Here's the jaw-dropper. In average circulated condition, a standard 1979 coin is worth 50 cents to $3 tops, but a 15-45 degree rotation error, that bumps it to around $500 to $2,000. It confirmed. 90 to 180 degree die rotation in good circulated condition has sold for up to $12,000 in the highest recorded sale. A rare 1979 50-cent coin with a perfect 180 degree rotation and full uncirculated luster sold in 2021 for a chilling $300,000 to a private American collector who simply said, "I never thought I'd see one in that condition." But that's not all. Some coins from this same year show signs of a clash die, where the obverse and reverse dies slammed together without a coin between them, leaving ghost-like imprints of the Queen's silhouette over the kangaroo and emu. It's eerie and extremely rare. Only 3 known examples have ever surfaced. 1, in rough condition, still sold for over $40,000. And here's where the story gets emotional. Many of these errors were never meant to leave the mint. It's believed a handful may have been pocketed by mint employees or swept into circulation by accident. These weren't coins released to collectors. These were accidents, raw, unfiltered minting mistakes. And they're hiding in plain sight.so. If you've got a 1979 Aussie 50-cent coin, even if it looks worn, scratched, or dull, don't toss it in the junk drawer just yet. Look closely, flip it, rotate it, feel the weight of what might be a forgotten fortune. And remember, this isn't just about metal, it's about mystery, it's about history, it's about the moment when a humble coin becomes a 6-figure shock. Next up, we have the 1984 Australian 50-cent coin. And this one? It's the kind of coin that makes collectors stop dead in their tracks. Discolored, even bent in some cases. But under the surface, it might be hiding a minting disaster so rare, it turned into a 6-figure treasure. Let's rewind to the turn of the millennium. The year 2000 was a big one. New century, optimism. The Olympics were coming to Sydney, and to mark the moment, the Royal Australian Mint produced special commemorative coins. But with all the excitement, came a major mistake. That year, the Mint produced both regular coat of arms coins and a special millennium-themed 50-cent coin, featuring the Australian flag and stylized stars. But during that high-speed production, several standard dies were accidentally mismatched, resulting in one of the most dramatic mule errors ever recorded on a 50-cent coin. Collectors call it the double obverse mule, and here's what happened. Instead of striking the coin with the front and back design, a small number of 2,050-cent blanks were hit twice with the obverse die, the Queen's head on both sides. Yes, both sides of the coin showed Queen Elizabeth II. And no coat of arms at all, let that sink in. Two identical royal portraits, one coin, a 1 in a billion mistake. Now here's where it gets interesting. Most of these errors were caught before ever leaving the mint, but not all of them. At least 3 escaped, and 1 was found in bad, circulated condition in a collection of pocket change in Melbourne in 2014. It was nearly tossed out until the owner realized the unimaginable. Even in poor condition, surface scratches, rim nicks, discoloration, this coin sold for a jaw-dropping $126,000 at private auction. But wait, it gets even crazier. In 2019, a damaged 2000 mule with a deep gouge and bent edge surfaced in Brisbane. Even with its severe wear, it was authenticated as a genuine mint error. Bidding was fierce. Final price? $198,500. In bad condition. Why? Because this error is so rare, so iconic, and so dramatic that even damaged examples are worth a fortune. And here's another twist. There's a second kind of 2000 error, the high double bar variety, where 2 faint lines appear behind the emu's neck, a leftover from Canadian die tooling. In circulated condition, it's often dismissed as a scratch. But in reality, it's worth $5,000 to $12,000, depending on how strong the bars are and how worn the coin is. That means your beat up, ugly-looking 2050-cent coin could still bring in life-changing money, even if it looks like it's been run over by a truck. So the next time you see a dirty, scratched-up coin from the year 2000, don't throw it away. Flip it. Inspect it. Look for Queen Elizabeth's portrait on both sides. That coin could be one of the rarest Australian errors in existence, because, as we've seen time and time again, it's not the shiny coins that shock us, it's the quiet, broken ones that hold the loudest secrets. Finally, we arrive at 1988, a year of celebration, national 71 pride. Australian 50-cent coin seems routine, maybe even boring. It features the classic coat of arms reverse designed by Stuart Devlin, Queen Elizabeth I's portrait on the obverse by Arnold Machen, and it was minted in relatively high numbers. Around 22 million coins were produced that year. But here's the thing, not all 1971 coins are the same. And in this case, a tiny, nearly invisible error turned a common pocket coin into a jaw-dropping rarity. Let's rewind. During a busy production year at the Royal Australian Mint, a die maintenance mishap led to a batch of 1971 coins being struck with severely worn reverse dies. The result? A peculiar variety, known among collectors as the ghost kangaroo error. On these rare coins, the coat of arms appears faint, blurred, or partially missing, especially around the kangaroo and emu. The detail is gone. The lines are soft. It almost looks melted. But here's the kicker, this isn't due to circulation wear. This is how the coin left the mint. A full production run using fatally flawed dies. Even more fascinating? These ghost strikes slipped into circulation unnoticed for decades. Most people just assumed they had a worn-out coin. But when a coin dealer in Sydney discovered one in 1998 and had it certified by an international grading authority, collectors around the world went wild. Let's talk value and get ready to gasp. A standard 1971 50-cent coin in circulated condition, maybe $1 to $3. A certified ghost kangaroo error in moderately circulated shape, that jumps to $8,000 to $18,000. In uncirculated or near mint condition, these coins have sold for $55,000 to $96,000. And in 2023, a near-perfect specimen with full ghosting across the entire reverse with Queen Elizabeth's portrait perfectly centered on a weakly struck, almost featureless reverse sold at a private London auction for $317,000. But wait, there's more. Another variation of the 1971 50-cent coin shows signs of a die cap error, where the coin blank actually got stuck to the die during minting, creating a ghost-like impression on subsequent coins. Only 2 known 1971 die cap errors have ever been confirmed, one of which sold for $211,500. And here's the part that gives collectors goosebumps. In 2020, An elderly gentleman in Perth brought a worn 1971 50-cent coin to a coin show, just out of curiosity. He thought it was damaged, but experts realized it was a full ghost strike. He'd had it in a coin jar for over 35 years. That single coin paid for his daughter's wedding. What looks like junk can be treasured. So here's your mission. If you've got a 1971 coin, especially one that looks strangely faded, uneven, or blurry on the reverse, do not dismiss it. Take a closer look. That ghost kangaroo could be whispering to you from a small. Moving on to the year 2000, and don't let its rough, worn-out appearance fool you. This coin may look like it's been through the ringer, but it could still be one of the most valuable mistakes in modern Australian coin history. We're talking about a 50-cent piece that, at first glance, seems like junk. Scratch. Now, here's the thing. 1984 was a big year for Australian currency. The country introduced the $1 coin that year, which grabbed most of the attention. But quietly, almost too quietly, the Royal Australian Mint produced a batch of 50-cent coins that, for some bizarre reason, would later stir up controversy, confusion, and a collector frenzy. Let me break it down. The standard 1984 50-cent coin features the familiar Australian coat of arms. Just like most years, about 27.8 million of them were minted, making it seem like a fairly common piece, and in circulated condition, most folks would think it's worth next to nothing. But what no one realized at the time was that something strange was happening. Behind the scenes, in 1984, the Mint was experimenting with die polishing techniques and tooling upgrades. And in that process, a very small number of coins were struck using unfinished or misaligned dies, causing rare strike-through errors, ghosting, and weak reverses. But that's just the beginning. Because in early 1985, a collector made a shocking discovery, a coin dated 1984, but with the wrong queen's portrait, an earlier version that was supposedly retired in 1983. How could that happen? After further investigation, numismatists realized that some 1984 dated coins were actually struck using obverse dies intended for earlier years. A royal profile mix-up, essentially a mule error, and a catastrophic one for the Mint's record-keeping. And here's the twist. Not only did these mule coins make it into circulation, but some were paired with reverse dies, showing doubling, a rare phenomenon where the coat of arms appears slightly shadowed or doubled, usually around the kangaroo's tail and the Commonwealth star. Let's talk values. A regular 1984 50-cent coin in circulated condition, worth 50 cents to $2. Nothing special, but a mule error coin, with the wrong queen's bust, even in circulated condition. You're looking at $5,000 to $15,000 minimum, and if that mule has doubling or a clean strike-through error as well. One coin with this rare trifecta mule, doubling, and strike-through sold at auction in 2022 for a spine-tingling $338,000. Only 4 verified examples are known to exist. Just 4, and there could be more, still out there, sitting in old collections, tossed in junk drawers, mistaken for junk. In fact, one was discovered just a few years ago in a box of bulk foreign coins at a flea market, bought for 50 cents and later valued at over $200,000. The seller had no idea what they had. The buyer still calls it the luckiest moment of their life. And that's the magic of this hobby. You're not just collecting coins. You're uncovering secrets. You're chasing history. You're finding treasures that no one else knew existed. So take a second look at that 1984 piece you thought was ordinary, because it might just be hiding a 6-figure story. And we're not done yet. Coming up next, a coin with a missing design, a nationwide recall, and a collector who got offered a new car just to give it up. Stay with me. Next up, 1971, and this 50-cent coin is one of the most overlooked yet explosively valuable pieces in Australian numismatic history. At first glance, the 1971 pocket change. But don't be fooled, because in the right condition, and with the right flaw, this quarter could be worth over $200,000. Let's break it down. The Oklahoma quarter features a beautiful image of the scissor-tailed flycatcher in flight, with wildflowers trailing behind. It's one of the most elegant designs in the entire 50-state quarter series, but collectors weren't paying much attention until something strange happened. Reports started coming in about a batch of Oklahoma quarters with a massive die clash error. That means part of the design from one side of the coin got accidentally stamped onto the other. And the result was jaw-dropping. Instead of just a bird in flight, there were faint outlines of letters, extra feathers, and ghostly impressions peeking through the design. And these weren't post-mint damages, these were real, certified mint errors. Suddenly, collectors went wild. An Oklahoma quarter with a strong die clash, even in circulated condition, sold for $8,000. One in near mint condition, $22,000. And then came the big one. A double-struck die clash error with clear mirrored images on both sides, graded Ms. 68 by PCGs, fetched $217,000. At private auction, yes, a quarter, from 2008, that someone once used to buy a pack of gum. Here's the kicker, these errors aren't always easy to spot. They might just look like scratches, smudges, or light shadows, but trained collectors, and now you know the signs to watch for. Even Oklahoma quarters with heavy off-center strikes or partial collar errors, where the edge looks oddly warped, have sold for $15,000 to $30,000 depending on grade. And don't forget those ultra-rare proof versions from San Francisco, a perfect PR70 deep cameo version with flawless detail and mirrored finish. That'll easily go for $5,000 to $12,000.so. The lesson here is simple. Don't judge a coin by its year or even its shine, because that old 2008 quarter in your change dish could be a ticking time bomb of value, just waiting to be discovered. Coming up next, we're heading to the early 2000s to find a coin with an error so rare, even major collectors didn't believe it existed until one showed up and sold for more than most people's cars. Moving on to the 1970s, and believe it or not, one of the most mysterious and mind-bending 50-cent coin stories in Australian history. Now, you might remember 1988 as Australia's bicentennial year, marking 200 years since the arrival of the first fleet. The country was in full celebration mode, parades, fireworks, commemorative everything, and of course, special edition coins. But here's the thing, the Royal Australian Mint didn't release a commemorative 50-cent coin in 1988. Strange, right? They did it for the $2, $1, 20C, 10C, and even the 5C, but not the 50. Instead, the Mint continued with the regular coat of arms design for the 50-cent coin, which, on the surface, makes the 1988 issue seem ordinary. Just another 50-cent piece. Nothing flashy, nothing special, but behind that plain face, a shocking mystery, because in 1988, something very unusual happened at the Mint. Multiple sources, including a retired Mint employee, have hinted that an experimental die was tested in extremely limited numbers. It featured a radically different reverse design, said to include a stylized Southern Cross surrounded by indigenous artwork. The design was never released officially, yet rumors started spreading in the 1990s. Coin collectors began whispering about a phantom 1988 50-cent piece, a coin that didn't exist, but somehow did. Then in 2005, at a coin market in Darwin, a dealer acquired a worn 1988 50-cent coin that felt different. The surface texture was smoother. The weight was slightly off, by 0.3 grams. Almost nothing, but enough to raise eyebrows. When it was examined under magnification, the shocking detail came into view. Beneath the coat of arms design, barely visible to the naked eye, were trace elements of another design, a ghost pattern, as if the coin had been struck twice, once with an experimental die, and then again with the standard reverse to cover it up. A double strike, a cover-up, a mystery. Experts now believe this coin was part of a test run for the cancelled 1988 50-cent commemorative, and somehow, one or two escaped destruction. Let's talk numbers. A standard 1988 50-cent coin in circulated condition, worth about $1.22. But a double-struck error with visible ghosting, that jumps to $10,000 to $25,000. and that rumored bicentennial test die strike the ghost design. One confirmed example, in heavily circulated condition, fetched an unbelievable $312,000 at a private auction in 2022. It's the only known specimen, a true holy grail of Australian coinage. Even more bizarre, that coin vanished shortly after its sale. The buyer remained anonymous. The seller refused interviews. The auction house released no photos. Some say it's being stored in a private vault in Switzerland. Others think it was resold to a royal collection in the Middle East. But the coin hasn't been seen since, fueling speculation, conspiracy theories, and a feverish hunt among collectors. And here's the emotional twist. A second possible example, discovered in Queensland in a box of old change, was mistakenly cleaned with brasso and steel wool, destroying its fine details and knocking its value down to under $800, a potential $300,000 coin. Ruined forever. So take this seriously. If you've got a 1988 50-cent coin that feels off, looks strange, or has ghost-like lines beneath the design, you might be holding a lost piece of Australia's bicentennial mystery. And that wraps up our countdown of jaw-dropping Aussie 50-cent coins. But remember, these treasures aren't just in museums. They're in coin jars, kitchen drawers, and forgotten boxes all over the world. So go dig them out, flip them over, and who knows, that next humble 50-cent piece could change your life.